Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Me, I'm fine and dandy, but things that'll be a bit unusual about here in the coming days. Before we get any further into the show, I'm going to say very good morning to Liliaca27 from YouTube and also from Lawrence in Massachusetts, who says, God bless all of us, amen. God bless all of us, amen indeed. And as Liliaca27, this is your first time on the show, you get the trademark welcome confetti. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Now, let me get back to this. I'm going to say a quick good morning to Al Grierson and Steve Williamson, who have also just showed up. Haven't had a chance to press the right button yet, but I'll do that in just a second. I did mention the fact that things are going to be a bit unusual around here over the coming days. Tomorrow's show will be given over entirely to the subject of the Didcot disaster. The entire show, in fact, will be dedicated to the memory of the 4 men that lost their lives during the boiler house collapse back on the 23rd of February 2016. Then, by way of a slight change, Friday's show will actually feature a guest. Andy Stevens has been on the show before, and I've also appeared on his Instagram live channel in the past. Well, today, literally today, Andy is speaking to the UK Parliament about the mental health crisis that is currently taking place here within the UK construction sector. I can only hope that Parliament is ready for him, because Andy is a pretty straight talker. So on Friday's show, Andy will be telling us exactly why and how his visit to Parliament came about and what commitments, if any, he has managed to secure. Depending how his diary looks, I might sign over the entire lion's share of the show to that discussion. And then finally, just a very quick reminder, there will be no show next Tuesday, as myself and Fred have been summoned to perform on-site filming duties up in that London for the entire day. Hopefully, we will return to some sense of normality about this time next week, all things being equal. Now, finally, just before we get the show properly started, I'm wearing a new T-shirt. And it has a backstory. The backstory is, as you will know, occasionally I do a Saturday show. I refer to it as a Saturday social. I think all of you refer to it as a Saturday social. My wife, however, refers to it as the shit show. And as my birthday is fast approaching, she is treating me to a new T-shirt. And it looks like that. Now, there are some that might argue that all of these are, in fact, a shit show, myself included sometimes. But thank you to the long-suffering Mrs. Demolition News for my new birthday present. I'm going to wear it with pride. It'll be a Didcot 4 T-shirt tomorrow, but for today, I'm wearing the Welcome to the Shit Show T-shirt. Now, without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, which I have remembered to do, and get this show on the road. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I'm your host, Mark Anthony. It is Wednesday, the 23rd of February, and welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, Manitou has offered a glimpse of its latest construction telehandler. Hitachi is all set for ConExpo. Bit like myself, really, and we're looking at the sustainability of sustainability benefits, should I say, of the CASE Reman program. Plus, we're sticking with the sustainability theme as Volvo Construction Equipment pursues its Change Starts Here initiative. And we're going to get to all of that in just a second. But first, let's see who among the rich and the shameless will be celebrating a birthday on this day of days. Happy birthday! And it's many happy returns to George Washington, the first US president despite the wooden teeth, and to the founder of the Boy Scout movement, Robert Baden-Powell, to TV's Bruce Forsyth, motor racing's Niki Lauda, Nigel Planer from the Young Ones, and to former crocodile botherer Steve Irwin, to irritating singer James Blunt, and also to actress Drew Barrymore, who was hot for a while, but she will be forever Gertie from E.T. Many happy returns to them, one and all. Now, before we get started, here's a very quick reminder of our question of the day. Yes, just to be clear, today's question of the day is sweet or savoury. If you find yourself, you stopped for fuel and you're in need of a snack, are you reaching for the sarnies and the crisps? Or are you going for the king-size Twix? Let us know and we'll get to your answers at the end of the show. The telescopic handler market is a hotbed of innovation and ongoing product improvement. In recent months, we've seen new and improved models from the likes of JCB and Bobcat. And now, just ahead of its appearance at the ConExpo show, Manitou has afforded us a sneak preview of its latest construction models. Yeah, my ConExpo diary was already full. It's so full, in fact, that this morning I've had to turn down an opportunity to go with one of the major manufacturers to the Cirque du Soleil show. My commitment to duty never ends. But it looks like I'm going to have to shoehorn a visit into Manitou now. Not a problem. We'll find the time somehow. There was a time, not so long ago, when remanufacturing was sold purely on its economic and financial benefits. Get your machine engine remanufactured, give your machine a second life at a fraction of the cost of replacing the entire unit. All of that obviously remains true, but in the age of tree hugging and home knitted muesli, the equipment manufacturers are now playing the sustainability card in their pursuit of reman business. Among them is CASE. Yeah, I know that remanufacturing has been a key offering from the likes of Caterpillar for many years, but maybe now that we're seeking to safeguard vital materials and reduce our carbon emissions associated with manufacturing, maybe Reman has truly come of age. And we're going to be sticking with sustainability right after this, but I do want to hop very quickly over to the chat. You're absolutely right, Ken. If it were another way, if I could actually make it to, I've been to the Cirque du Soleil in Vegas before, but blimey, must be 20 years ago. I would have thought. Fantastic show, but just can't squeeze it in, unfortunately. The work that's gone into making that footage, I bet, was many hours for a short video clip. What a clip it is! Yeah, I've said this before, and I'm sure you see exactly the same, Steve. You film something for 10 minutes and it takes you 2 days to actually edit it. That's the way of the world. But I did say we were going to be sticking with sustainability, and we're going to do so right after this. I should have mentioned this at the start of the show when I was doing the birthdays. Today actually marks an anniversary for my mate Peter Haddock. This time 4 years ago, he quit his former day job, where he was the PR man for Finning here in the UK. Frankly, the PR has never been the same since. But Finning's loss was our gain, because after a short sabbatical, he came back and has become the undisputed king of LinkedIn. Does a damn fine podcast as well. So I realise that day 4 years ago probably wasn't a bundle of laughs, but as I say, it's been to our benefit and obviously to Peter's benefit as well. So happy anniversary on that one, Peter. Now, twice last year, I was exposed to Volvo's Change Starts Here philosophy. That encapsulates its commitment to sustainability and to a carbon-free future. On both occasions, I came away with the feeling that change starts here was more than just words. It's something that's absolutely baked into Volvo these days. Having already seen the film that I'm about to play you, and I'm going to stand by that feeling because it really has become a very, very key part of the Volvo message.
Volvo Group is looking to be fossil-free by 2040. And that is affecting every decision that we make. This project was so important because it really does take that first step into the future.
Since I've been little, I've always been interested in figuring out how things work. When all is said and done, if the thing I worked on can't reach the people that need it the most, I feel like I haven't done enough. So that's a major driving force in how I approach problem solving. My name is Gaston Oselling, and I am a PhD candidate at Stanford University studying mechanical engineering.
My name is Hedvig Ernst, and I study at Blekinge Institute of Technology. I've always been interested in solving problems and trying to figure things out. So I thought that I would want to work and study in a very broad concept.
My name is Maggie Oren. I am the Strategic Partnerships Manager at the Volvo Group Innovation Lab in Silicon Valley. When we bring these prompts to the students, it introduces new ways of addressing the problem that we probably haven't considered.
The problem Volvo came to us with was that how we might support the electricity adoption in places where there is no electricity. So for example, after a natural disaster or at a remote construction site. We were 4 in Sweden and 6 people in USA.
The collaboration between countries always starts off a little bit rough every year. The time difference is so difficult to overcome. You're asking college students to wake up early on, the California coast. You're asking them to stay up late in Sweden.
We were very different, but we had a lot of fun together. When we accept each other's differences and embrace them, the possibilities are endless.
I really love brainstorming, and I really like the different ways that the class encourages us to approach it.
Like all of these crazy ideas, post-its everywhere, and complete chaos just to get our creativity going.
When they start clicking together, the project takes on a life of its own. It stops being work and starts being fun for them, and they move it from concept into prototype, and it's a beautiful thing.
We started with cardboards and just some duct tape, trying to figure out how it would look.
We started to figure out what direction we wanted our project to go in. We kind of understood that the most efficient use of our time was to build two halves of a whole.
So we created a solution, Oasis and Nomad, which can not only generate electricity on the site, but it can also distribute the electricity to the Volvo construction equipment. Oasis is our electricity generation solution. It's a trailer on wheels, and it's modular, so we have wind turbines and solar panels, depending on the climate.
Nomad is a portable battery system that's able to then meet energy demands anywhere on your site, especially in a site like a quarry where it might be a large amount of real estate that you're working with. We have Nomad that can then transport to wherever it's needed at a properly scheduled time.
We can actually generate electricity wherever needed, and we can distribute it to wherever it's needed.
Volvo Group sponsors these academia projects for multiple reasons. These are the workforce of the future, they're the leaders of the future, and when they join the workforce, they're going to bring this new way of thinking and new way of working to address problems, and I think everyone's going to benefit when they do.
I think most manufacturers today have a pretty strong environmental message, but I don't think any of them convey that message in quite the same way that Volvo does. Go over to the comments very quickly. Steve Williamson, years and years ahead. Yes, 100%. And Ken Hatcher, you're absolutely right. Wow. Volvo, Silicon Valley. Those are the levels that these guys are playing at. And I have to say, despite all my concerns over electric machines and where the energy comes from and all of that kind of thing, that Nomad system, a mobile battery pack, smart thinking. Now, probably shouldn't discuss this in public, but I'm going to. Here we go. Steve Williamson says, I see Parker Schnabel from Gold Rush will be at the Volvo stand at ConExpo. I'm your new best friend, Mark. I have no idea who Parker Schnabel is. I've never watched Gold Rush, but I know you're a fan, Steve. I am scheduled to meet up. I'm speaking to Volvo later today, actually, but I'm scheduled to meet up with Volvo out of hours at ConExpo. And I will see what I can do on that, Steve. If I can make that happen, I will certainly do that. Unfortunately, it's then that I'm blowing out of the Cirque du Soleil show, which is unfortunate. But prior commitments mean that I can't do it. And there we are, Steve, Volvo. Love to work with Volvo. Well, maybe, Steve, if we can pull the right strings, maybe you'll get your chance. Now, this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
My Instagram sprang into life yesterday with photos showing the first exhibits arriving at the Las Vegas Convention Center ahead of next month's eagerly awaited ConExpo show. And now, with the show less than 3 weeks away, in the gambling capital of the world, Hitachi has shown its hand. Every time I play one of those, I think of the same thing. Too many manufacturers, too little time. It's going to be a busy week.
Sorry to interrupt the guy with the funny glasses, but if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button as it helps our channel. Or, better still, share this video with a friend or a colleague. Thank you. Right, back to Beardy.
Right, that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today and to decide whether we're sweet or savoury around these parts. If you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends and your colleagues. Have a great day and thanks for watching. And welcome to the shit show. But if you have the time and the inclination, I'll see you on the other side of this for what is now known as the Craic. And just a quick reminder, tomorrow's show is going to be a very, very different affair. If you want to duck out of that, wouldn't blame you one bit, but I hope you don't. After this, the Craic. Good morning, one and all. How are we doing today? I'm going to go to the top of the chat in just a second, but I'm going to put this one down there first. Nick Drew says, get your bag packed, Ken. I need a wingman. I think we all need a wingman. Thankfully, I've got one. I'm taking my son, Fred, who obviously is going to take... He's going to do all the heavy lifting. I'm just going to walk around and look glamorous. I'm not going to look glamorous at all. First off the mark this morning was Gary Muirhead, and so keen was he to be the first off the mark this morning, he actually said good morning to everyone and myself before the show even started. Gary, what's up? Did you wet the bed or something? But well done on being the first. Thank you very much indeed for being here as always. And just to let you know, Gary and I had a chat last night. Haven't heard from James Doble, who has been a regular on these shows for quite some time. Haven't heard from him for quite a while. I've dropped him a line and I haven't heard back. Might be the fact that I've dropped him a line at the wrong time, or maybe he's at the hospital undergoing dialysis and can't use his phone or whatever it might be. But I'll keep you posted. If I hear from him, you'll be the first to know. Ken Hatcher is here as well. Morning, Ken. Thank you very much indeed for being here. We're going to come back to Ken in just a moment. Who else jumped into the chat? There is our friend Liliaka27 from Lawrence in Massachusetts. I don't think we've ever actually had anyone from Massachusetts on the show before, but all are welcome. Steve Williamson says, morning to you, Steve. And Al Grierson, despite the issues with the calendar, the teaching calendar over in Luxembourg, he's managed to find a way to be here. Dan Cullen's here as well. Happy Hump Day. How are you all? Yeah, how are you all? Pretty fit and well, I hope. Nick Drew is in the house as well. Morning, Nick. Nick, thank you for joining us. This t-shirt is strictly a one-off. I'm sure it's not, but who else would wear a Welcome to the Shit Show t-shirt on their own shit show, eh? So there was the question of the day, sweet or savoury. I make no secret of the fact that I am very much a sweet man. I am diagnosed diabetic, which is payback for 50 odd years of being an absolute chocoholic, and that's never likely to change. We'll get to some answers on that in just a second. We're rattling through. There we are. There's one. Ken Hatcher is a sweet man. Good man. You and I are of one mind, Ken. Mark Whiting is here as well. Morning, Mark. Thank you for being here. Question of the day. Steve Williamson says, savoury all day long, and American food is my favourite. Oh, boy, are you in for a treat when we get to Las Vegas. But then he does take a slight step back by saying he does love a cream egg. Have you tried the white one, Steve? I haven't, but my daughter swears blind that it's a very fine thing. I've not actually had one, but maybe when my wife's looking the other way. Peter McKenna's here as well. Morning, Peter. Hope you're fitting well, my friend. Pleased to see you were actually paid at long last by the by your agents. Let's hope we don't have to go down that again. Love the effects on that video. That's going back to the Manitou video, I think, that Steve Williamson's just described it. Yeah, it really was. I was thinking that actually with the Manitou one and also with the Volvo one, the amount of money that these companies are now putting into their public image through video is absolutely astonishing. You think back that just a few years and, you know, these manufacturers were still pumping out brochures and spec sheets. Now look at it. You know, it's I have a theory. Bearing in mind that in just a few weeks' time, this show or these live streams will be 3 years old. I believe that the manufacturing world has looked at what we were doing and said, this guy is doing his level best to produce these shows. We need to up our game and start producing some better videos to put on the Breakfast show. I don't believe that for one moment. The shows are fantastic. I remember seeing Celine Dion at Caesar's Palace. Yeah, the most memorable one that I saw, and I am going back an awful long time, and I'm fairly sure it was at the Mirage Hotel. I may be wrong. I am knocking on a bit, and my brain is a bit addled. But I went to a show called Splash back in the day, and it was kind of like a variety show, and I was very, very seriously jet lagged when I went to see it. And I was half asleep in the audience when the show started. And a motorbike went past the back of my head. I was sat in the audience, and there were people sat behind me, and a motocross bike went past doing a wheelie in the audience. There was then, and I was literally front row, I wasn't paying, but I was front row, and a woman came on, and she was ice skating on, not surprisingly, ice. And I can tell you it was ice because while she was skating, every once in a while she'd do a turn and the ice would fall off and hit me in the face, and you could feel it was cold. It was ice, okay? She did her final spinny pirouette thing. Nick Drew, I'm sure I'm using the right lingo here. Spinny pirouette thing. As she was doing it, the stage lowered to the point where she vanished. And then it came back up. When it came back up, it was a big tank of water, like an aquarium, with a woman and a dolphin in it. Yeah, in a hotel. So yes, I'm a little upset that I can't make it to the Cirque du Soleil show, because the Cirque du Soleil shows, 6 of those in Vegas, are spectacular. But I'm going to get back to it in just a second, because I know Ken has actually said I should take the night off. The reason I'm not going is because I'm taking the night off. Steve Williamson says the work that went into that footage, many hours for a short video clip, but what a clip it is. My guess, at least my hope, if I had been shooting that, or more specifically, if Fred had been shooting it because he knows what he's doing, I would like to think that is just a clip from a longer film. So I'd like to think they did all that effort for something a bit longer than 40-50 seconds, but we shall see. That's where he came from. I think that's referring to Peter Haddock. Yeah, Peter did, I think it was either 13 or 14 years as the PR man for Finning. In fact, one of the reasons that I know that today marks the 4th anniversary of his career change. Myself, Graham Black at Earth Movers, and Nick Drew, and a bunch of Justin Carrigan over at Awesome Earth Movers, we were all in Malaga together. And that was to prove to be Peter's last day in that role. We didn't know that at the time, but there was a parting of the ways. Peter came back. I met up with him a couple of weeks after we came back, and I do remember saying to him, you know what you should do? You should do a bit of podcasting. Created a monster on that day, I did, but yeah, he hasn't looked back since. And as I said, make no bones about it, I don't think the Finning PR is up to much these days. In fact, I don't see a great deal of it. And yet, back when Peter was there, it was among the best in the business. So their loss, and the industry's gain, I guess. So happy anniversary to Peter. But yes, he didn't arrive from a distant planet fully formed as a PR man or a vlogger, journalist, or anything like that. He has been behind the scenes. And I think one of the things that I will point out is, because he was so closely associated with Finning and with Caterpillar, the very fact that he has managed to win over the likes of JCB, who now invite him to events and stuff like that, I think that speaks volumes for the amount of effort that Peter's put in over the last 4 years, trying to re-establish himself and to shake off the shackles of his Finning connection and become his own man. I do feel like I need to see Gold Rush at some point. Last time I was at ConExpo, those of you that were there, Nick, I'm looking at you right now, Volvo pulled some of the Volvo staff pulled out at the last minute. The Volvo stand was still there. There were some staff, but I think they were all American. But all of the Swedes decided they couldn't make the journey because of threats over COVID. But there was a Gold Rush machine on the stand, and if you look on Fred's Diggers and Dozers channel from this time 3 years ago, I'm sure there's some photographs of it there. As I said, I have no idea who Parker Schnabel is, but if we can find some way of you, if you would like to be my cameraman or caddy or something on that day, Steve, if we can work that with your schedule and my schedule, I'm sure we can make something happen right there. I think it's hard. I think it's tempting to think of construction equipment existing in this little, like, manufacturing bubble. You know, there's. I think particularly people looking from the outside, people will look at you know, the manufacturers of diggers, and think, you know, they're just metal bashers and that kind of thing. But when you think about Volvo, think about Caterpillar. You know, we're talking about multi-billion-pound companies here. Multi-billion. Yeah, they are. Look at the last. I'm trying to remember the name of the show. In Las Vegas, there was a. What was it called? It was a technology show, anyway. Earlier, it was last month, and Komatsu were there. I know Caterpillar have done it in the past. These companies are at the very, very cutting edge of technology. And when you think about some of the stuff that's crammed into equipment, think about Volvo as an example. Volvo recently unveiled their collision mitigation system. Have you seen that on a car? Those are the levels that these guys are playing at. You know, they are absolutely at the very, very cutting edge. And as Steve Williamson has just said, years and years ahead. They really are amazing. And I have to say, over the last couple of years, always admired Volvo, but some of the stuff they've done over the past few years, with their autonomous machines, their fossil-free steel, and the various other bits and pieces, they are just absolutely streets ahead in some respects. Yes, we will get to that if we can. Let's have a look. Get to Circus Salary. You need an evening off. Cirque du Soleil. Yeah, I do need an evening off, which is precisely why I'm bailing on that one. And besides, as I've already said, I'm there with Fred, but I'm also taking the good lady wife as well, and I'm not going to abandon her and go off and see the Cirque du Soleil show. I'm treating. We're actually got a bit of time at the beginning and a bit of time at the end of the show. So rather than the last time, we literally arrived for the start of the show and then left as the show was ending. This time we're actually going to cram a bit of time and get to see a bit more of Las Vegas. Cracking videos you're showing today. It's inspiring me. That's not the purpose, obviously, but that is why of an evening I will sit there and I will basically watch 2, 3 and even 4 hours of YouTube videos on how to make your live streams look better, how to make your videos look better, how to make your photographs look better. And there is an adage, and I'm fairly sure this applies in other walks of life, but somebody said to me very early days when we first started doing these shows, the aim with these things is to make each show better than the one before, because there's nobody else doing this. So I don't actually have a benchmark. I don't have a competition. I've got nothing to compete against apart from myself. So the aim always is, that was a pretty good show, how do I top it? That was an even better show, how do I top that? So each new day is coming up. Precisely the same reason. You know, we are now into our, well, there was at least 2 iterations of this show for the first year after we came back from ConExpo, and then this show itself, this proper show, has now been going for a couple of years. And in that time, I think we've rebranded a good 4 or possibly 5 times. Partly to keep things fresh, but also to try and improve things. You know, each time taking a bit of a step forward and making things a bit more slick. When we first started, we were broadcasting in 720p, so the image wasn't particularly good. The camera we were using was pretty poor as well. The lighting was terrible. But since then, we've invested in the light, we've invested in the camera, and we're broadcasting maximum at 1080p. If they ever go 4K, we'll be jumping on that as well, because that's what you're going to do. Looks good, ConExpo. Yeah, it is going to be quite the show. And as Nick Drews just said, get your bag packed. I need a wingman. Even if you only go to carry Nick's camera bag, it will be handy. Steve Williamson has got his wingman and his wingwoman as well. Quite right, you have. Gary Muirhead is on the sweet train with me and with Ken Hatcher. It looks like we only have... Peter McKenna says, sweet or savoury. Man after my own heart. Nick Drew, can't afford the flights. The flights are £1,000 and the rooms are £2,000, and then the resorts fee and show entrance fee, it adds up. Too expensive this time. Yeah, it's not cheap. It's not cheap, and I don't envy anybody that's going for pleasure. Obviously, I'm being paid to be there by a bunch of people, so you know, not so bad. I was going anyway. We decided after the last ConExpo, actually, we had such a good time as a family there. We were going to treat it as a holiday, a pretty expensive holiday, I'll grant you, but then, you know, that's what you work for, I guess. We were going to treat it as a holiday, and if we managed to make some money while we were there, then so much the better. That's paid dividends. I'm astonished at the amount of paid work that we're going to be doing over there. Fred has really come up trumps on all of that, and we are working. I mean, literally, we filled our diary, and I've got calls today and on, I think it's Tuesday next week, Monday next week, one of the two, to firm up another couple of paid gigs as well. Just astonishing. There is a real demand for what we're doing, I guess. White cream eggs are amazing. They have made it beyond Hadrian's Wall, apparently. I love white chocolate, but the white cream egg is, well, weird. Can't get my head around it. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. It's the same. I have this theory. I'm a big Mars bar fan. And they've never improved it. You know, they've done the protein version, they've done a dark chocolate version, never improved it. Same as a Kit Kat, you can't improve upon a Kit Kat, and I don't actually think you can improve on a white Cadbury's cream egg. Oh, there you are. Wow, 3 years. I remember the first one. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, just to pop back a bit. I got back from ConExpo. Obviously, the show was cut short by a day last time around. I got back on the Sunday and came back basically to the country in lockdown. The printers that we would have used for our old Demolition magazine had gone into lockdown. My advertising department had gone on furlough. And I was literally sat here thinking, well, how do I continue doing the job? How do I continue sort of getting news out there? And just by sheer fluke, about a week before I went to ConExpo, I'd been the guest on a live stream using a system called StreamYard, which is what I'm using to broadcast this. And I got back and I was literally sat here thinking, well, I'm screwed now. I can't produce the magazine. I can't earn an income. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to be able to do. So I called up the guy that had me on as a guest and said, this StreamYard thing, where do you get it? How do you do it? And he said, oh, it's on the web and it's free of charge. That was the Monday. I think by the Wednesday of that week, I'd phoned up Peter Haddock and said, I'm planning to do a live stream. I don't know how any of it works. I don't know if anyone will turn up, but could you come on as a guest and let's have a chat about ConExpo and the future of media and all that sort of stuff. And we went live, and I've been doing it daily ever since. Used to be we did a few evening shows, but we started out doing them in the afternoon, actually. But we've gradually whittled it down to the point where, obviously, the sweet spot is 10 o'clock in the morning when we can get people to take a break. Steve Williamson, I'm probably there for as long as you, Steve. I'm flying out with you on the Saturday, and I'm flying back. We'll be flying out on the Saturday night, but we get back to the UK on the Sunday. So I've got obviously the show starts on the Tuesday, so we've got Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, although I've got a few bits and pieces planned for the Monday, and then I'm planning, hopefully not going to the show on Friday, although that may prove to be necessary. And then we've also got the whole of Saturday as well to go out and fill our boots with some local food before we come home and get back to dreary old England. Question of the day, Dan Cunt says, I'm a sweet tooth. Yeah, I know I shouldn't be, but I absolutely am. Thank you very much indeed, Al Grierson. It was the Consumer Electronics Show that we were talking about, and yes, it was It was, I think last time around Caterpillar were there. I'm not sure if they were there this time. And then this time around Komatsu were there. And you'd have to think that Komatsu, Caterpillar, Liebherr and Volvo, among the others, they absolutely belong there. You think, look at some of the stuff, you know, like the heads-up display that we saw, the Bobcat was showing off at Bauma. You could put that in the electronics, the Consumer Electronics Show. But thank you very much indeed for clarifying that, Al. I'd completely forgotten what the show was called. Too many shows on my plate. Nick Drew says, "I'm Billy No Mates this time." Nick, I'm not even sure where you're staying this time, but don't worry, you'll have plenty of friends there. You will not be able to move for Digger Man blog fans over there, I would imagine. And just to let people know, I actually had a chat last night with Martin, the Norwegian Earth Mover. I did an Instagram live yesterday. He took part in very briefly. And he reached out to me last night to basically get my sorry, something just came up on my screen. To get my address, he is sending me a Norwegian Earth Movers hat, and they are a limited edition. I think he's only had about a dozen of them made, and he's not selling them. He's just giving them out to people. So for part of the ConExpo show, I shall be sporting the Norwegian Earth Mover hat, pretending that I'm Norwegian. If I don't speak, I can probably pull that off, just to get his word and his name out there a little bit as well. And as Steve Williamson has just said, you'll have a plane full of mates, Nick. Yeah, no question about it. Nick, let me know where you're staying. I've said I think me and Steve, I think Katie Keller is there as well, and Ed Butler, obviously. We're all at the Luxor. So the Luxor is going to be quite the hub for influencer types. But Nick, let me know where you are. Aren't we flying out on the Friday night, the 10th? No, I'm flying out on the 11th, I think. I think Peter is going a day. Peter Haddock is going a day ahead. Him and his son Lucas are going ahead. But no, we're flying out on the Saturday, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if memory serves me correctly. I'm sure Steve will straighten me out on that. I think it's a fairly relaxed one because I've got to get my dogs to kennels before we head off up to the airport. So yeah, nice and relaxed. I think we arrive middle of the evening on the Saturday night, local time, obviously. So probably enough time to go and have a bite to eat and a drink or something like that, and then get ourselves to bed. And then obviously the whole of Sunday is our own. Monday not so much because we've got some bits and pieces to do. Well done. You're doing the full 10 days, 11th to the 21st. Congratulations, that's absolutely fantastic. And Nick Drew is with Peter and Lucas. Yes, you probably are. I sort of assumed they were flying out of Birmingham or somewhere, but maybe not. I don't know. But I'm sure our paths will cross. It's going to be a weird one this time. Obviously, myself, Nick, and Peter travelled out together last time, and we travelled back together last time. I spent most of the time with family, and I know Peter and Nick got to hang out quite a bit. This time around, because we've got so much paid work to do, it's just I'll just look out for you in the aisles, Nick. I think that's probably for the best. I'm still waiting to find out where I'm staying at the moment. I couldn't sleep. I would say, if you find yourself at a loose end, Nick, you can bunk down with us. Not sure how Mrs. Demolition usually would feel about that. Not keen would be would probably be the answer, but I'm sure you'll be sorted out, Nick. But keep us posted, and obviously if we can meet up, then so much the better. Right, people, I just want to give you a couple of very quick reminders for those of you that arrived late. So first of all, tomorrow's show is going to be dedicated entirely to all things Didcot disaster related. So it's going to be very serious and probably a bit somber as well. So that's tomorrow's show. And then my mate Andy Stevens, if you're on Instagram, have a look. Andy Stevens TV. He does lots and lots of good stuff mental health wise. He's done a show recently. He's being paid to do a series of video podcasts at the moment. And one that he's done recently was with a couple of builders, talking about the cost of living crisis and the impact upon those within the construction industry. And the point that he was making is, you know, we've all had to take on the chin rises in diesel cost, rises in materials costs, rises in energy costs and everything else. But the wages haven't gone up. Now, I know some might argue that there was that spike in wages, which I know the government were very keen to point the finger at as the main cause of inflation. But when you look at the way that inflation is now, I don't suppose anybody that's watching this has enjoyed a pay rise in the last couple of months that's in line with that. So that is why Andy is off to Parliament today. He's probably there now, actually, to let the government have it with both barrels, I would imagine. So predominantly, I think on Friday's show we'll be talking about mental health and the like, but I'm sure that the cost of living crisis will come up, because obviously that is another contributor to all things that way. And then final thing, no Saturday social this week because I've got bits and pieces that I need to do. And then on Monday I'll be back, and then on Tuesday myself and Fred are up in that London filming. So it's going to be a funny couple of days. Weird show tomorrow, unusual show on Friday, no show on Wednesday, after which hopefully you will have me uninterrupted between now and about the 10th, I think, 10th of March, at which point my bag will be packed and I'll be chomping at the bit to get myself to ConExpo. So people, with all of that being said, go have a fine day, look after yourself. I'll be back here again tomorrow, and just so you know, if you arrive here at 10 o'clock tomorrow, you have a 4-minute silence to start the show. Nothing's broken, but there will be no music. There will just be an image on the screen for 4 minutes in memory of the 4 guys that so tragically died 4 years ago at the Didcot A power station. So there's nothing wrong, and it will be a slower start than usual, but there's no ads, no videos, no frivolity of any kind. It's just going to be a straight talking, unscripted stream of consciousness about all things Didcot related. If that's the kind of thing you can get behind, love to see you here. If you'd rather safeguard your own mood, I fully understand if you can't be here. So until tomorrow, everybody have a fantastic day. I'll see you all very, very soon. Thanks for being here. All the best.